It's Friday morning, a couple of days before Yom Kippur. The weather is cold, wet, windy, and the shul is cold because one of the rules is we have to have the windows open. So even though the heating's on at full blast, which you might hear in the background, it is cold. I wanted you to see what the inside of the shul looks like, particularly those of you who won't be with us on Yom Kippur. And if I just turn the camera around for a moment, you can see the full layout of the shul and the ark, of course, and the other side behind me. And this is what the shul looks like at the present time. So a huge amount of work has gone into our preparations for Yom Kippur, and obviously Rosh Hashanah before that. So what I want to do is to share a couple of ideas with you all, even if you are coming to shul, because our service is going to be very limited in length, so I won't be able to give the sermons that I normally do on Yom Kippur, so we'll get out much faster. And I also want to say, as I start this video, if it's not perfect, please forgive me. After all, it is Erev Yom Kippur, and time is short. So here goes. So I came across the other day a shiur on Yeshiva University website. They have hundreds of thousands of shiurim. So I picked one hoping it would be interesting, and it certainly was, all about Yom Kippur, as you might expect. And I understood from there that there's a new phenomenon created due to the current crisis. A country like Singapore, which has a very, very low infection rate, is, however, surrounded by countries with a very high infection rate, and they therefore don't allow travel out of the country to any other destination. So Singapore Airlines came up with an amazing idea. You can take a flight, 2.5 hours, take off, check in the way you normally do, take off, go up in the sky, fly around for 2.5 hours, and then land back where you started. And people are flocking to this in droves. In Australia, apparently they're doing the same thing. In Australia, I can understand, there's really what to see from the air. But interesting concept. One of the things that we know, and Singapore this time of the year, apparently it rains a lot. So there's a lot of cloud and rain. And what happens, you take off in possibly a storm, and that'll get your prayers into focus if anything does. If anyone's taken off into storms, I remember one time in Melbourne, get your prayers into focus. And then you fly up, and the plane is shaking from side to side. Makes you a bit nervous, the wind and the rain and so on. Then you enter the clouds, which are completely dark, and you want to go to bed. Does the pilot know what he's doing? You hope there's no other plane there behind the clouds. And then you go into the sunshine. My dear friends, we're going into Yom Kippur, and the COVID virus is worsening. The spread is worsening. In Israel, there's total lockdown. Most Israelis will not be in shul this Yom Kippur. And we know across the world, most countries, it is worsening. So we're going into Yom Kippur, which is a day elevated from all other days. And we're going to come out of Yom Kippur, and we're still going to find a worsening virus. But let us use this island in time. You see, when the plane takes off in this storm, it does rise above the clouds. And above the clouds, it's always sunny. Is it worth it? And for the people who take that trip, it evidently is. To spend a few hours basking in the sunshine on top of the world. That's Yom Kippur. We can spend 25 hours, whether we're at home or in shul, under restrained circumstances, we can spend that time thinking about what really matters in life. When you go on a plane trip, you take things which are very personal to you, very valuable to you. When you get the case back at the end, it's a big relief. It's delayed. It's not pleasant. And if you don't get it back, one's upset. But also when you learn to pack You take things with you which are most precious. So I, for example, my tefillin will never ever go in the hold luggage. It always comes with me, hand luggage. So Yom Kippur is a day we think about what is really precious to us. If we've been isolated during the time of the virus, it also focuses us to think who is most precious to us. Let us not take them for granted. It's not unique to be in isolation on Yom Kippur. The high priest, the Kohen Gadol, was in total isolation for a week before Yom Kippur. And then he went into the temple, into the Holy of Holies. No one could go with. He's on his own, and he carried the responsibility not just for himself and not just for his family, but really for the nation of Israel, and really by extension the entire world, because the temple is called a place for all nations, a place of worship, Beit Tefillah L'chol Ha'amim. It's a place of worship for all nations. That is a tremendous responsibility that he had, and he was in isolation. When we say our silent Amidah on Yom Kippur, it doesn't matter where we are in isolation because it's our thoughts, it's our al-Chait, it's our confessionary prayers, it's our thinking how we connect to God, or God forbid not so connected to him. How are we connected to other people? Is it nicely? How do we relate to others? That is the time. Kol Nidrei, we think of vows, oaths, and so on. It's a complicated formula. What's the point of Kol Nidrei? Kol Nidrei is for us to think about speech. Do we talk nicely to others and about others? And that is also referred to in the Al-Chait prayer. And this is a kind of internal look at ourselves. In addition to that, and overlaying that, we have in Shul, we have the Chazan's repetition of the Amidah. And even Kol Nidrei night, even though there's not a formal repetition, it's like there is. And we say the confessionary prayers together. Normally we would sing together, Ki Anu Amecha. We are your people and you are our God. The Chazan will lead us this year and we'll say it silently with him. But that's part of the confessionary prayer too. Not all confession is negative. We declare, we are your people. You are our God. We belong to each other. We want to renew that relationship. And lest we think, please, I'm too far gone, I'm too settled in my ways, God doesn't want the likes of me. Lest we think that, it's not true. Because in the Ne'ilah service, just before the end of the fast, we say in our prayers, Ata noten yad haposhim. You give a hand, you put a hand out to those who sin. In other words, you want us back. You want all of us. My dear friends, whether you're in shul or at home, cultivate the time and the space this Yom Kippur to make it really work. You've got the booklet from the United Synagogue, the booklets from AISH, from LSJS that we sent out. Please use them. There's a special one for Yom Kippur. There's even a big chart on Yom Kippur in the packs. Do use them. One final thing. We're hoping to Zoom the shofar blowing at the end of the fast. But please don't log on until after 7:35. We're going to do it at 7:40. But leave a couple of minutes, which reminds me of something else. Our phones, for 25 hours, let's put them away. Let's have a free day without them, just focus inwards on ourselves, and if we're home with our families, on our families too. I wish everyone Gemar Chatima Tova. May we all be sealed for a good year. Those who are unwell should have a refuah shlema, full recovery. By this time next year, may we be rid of the virus and have full services back in our shuls all over the world like we used to. Shana Tova, good New Year, and Shabbat Shalom.